So I'm Judy Cain. I am a physician anesthesiologist for Sutter Hospital in Roseville. I trained at Loma Linda University, but I also did a year in Denver for internal medicine, and I've worked at Sutter Roseville for about 11 years now. Best parts of the job that I've had so far is that I share it with my husband. So we were young, starting a family when we got there, and they allowed us to split one position. So it does not matter which one of us goes to work, does not matter which one of us stays at work. It's just that one of us has to be there doing the cases, which has been so nice for being a part of our house, our family, raising our kids. That's really been tremendous. And it's not the current pattern in medicine where they will allow you to do that. So I feel like we've been really blessed to be able to share it. That, and it's a fun job. You meet different people every day. It's interesting. It's rewarding. As with anything, it depends on what your bias is and what your point of comparison is. I came straight out of training from Loma Linda, where there was a whole group of us that focused on Christianity and medicine, and every ward that you went to wrote up on the board that we were supposed to be healing people spiritually and physically, and it was a totally different environment. So I think any hospital compared to that is going to seem less responsive to people's religious needs. That being said, Sutter has been very open. There is an active hospital chaplaincy program. There's always 1 to 2 chaplains available, and they have the chaplain visit people on the morning of surgery at the inpatient setting. At the outpatient settings, it's completely secular. There's not a hint of religion. At outpatient surgery centers, obstetrics as well, there's very little religious interface with the people on the labor and delivery floor. But for inpatient surgery, they do have the chaplain there in the morning, and they will ask if you would like to have a word of prayer. I'm a very bubbly person, and I'm not afraid to talk to people about things. So coming from Loma Linda, where every single patient that I met, I offered to pray with, and it was very well received, I had a little bit of a cooling off period once I started working. So I bounced in, I'm young, it's my first job, I'm so excited. I continued to do exactly what I had always done, and that was to tell every patient at the end of my patient interview, where we explain the risks of anesthesia, we talk about the surgery that we're having, and my parting information for them was always, I'm a Christian, I would love to have a word of prayer with you. Would you be open for having a word of prayer before surgery? And that went on for about a year before they told me that I had to stop, which was very startling. I'd never been to the principal's office. I'd never gotten in trouble for anything. I'm earnest, I'm a rule follower. It's very bizarre to be called in a disciplinary fashion by the head of outpatient surgery and say, this is going to stop.
So, I mean, it was pretty bar none. They didn't give you any options.
No, they called me with the express interest to tell me that I was not allowed to pray with patients. So my first response was to be angry about that and to say that you're stifling my right to free speech. And I didn't say any of that. I said, well, say more. Is there anything else that you would like to express? How did this come up? Was it a patient complaint? Was it the nurses that were uncomfortable? And I was surprised it was the nurses. Which I found was really interesting, that a patient had not complained, but the nurses had felt that it was inappropriate. I'm not sure which nurses. So I just stayed quiet. I asked them to say more, if there had been any other complaint or why they felt it was inappropriate for me to offer this. And they made several points, and I actually felt some of the points were valid. The first point they said is that I am not the chaplain. They're not employing me in a role to meet people's spiritual needs. And the second thing that they said, which actually reached me, was that I'm coming to the patients in a position of power where they don't feel comfortable saying no to the person who's going to be putting them to sleep. So that at some point it could be viewed as coercion. So I acknowledged those 2 points, and I took a minute to think about what my game plan would be afterwards, because I think it's important to be able to share your faith in the workplace. So I prayed about it, and it occurred to me that it may be coercion to tell people that you're going to offer to pray with them right then. So what I changed it to, and for the past 10 years this has worked for me in the workplace, is that as I leave the patients, I tell them, I'm a Christian. I tell all of my patients this, that I'm going to be saying a word of prayer for you, that everything goes wonderful, that you have a smooth recovery, and that surgery is very effective, and that we keep you safe and get you back home to your family. And at that point, people who are religious will be like, oh, this is my pastor. We came here and like my whole church is praying for me. Would you like to pray with us? And then the patients will invite me into prayer with them, where they are actually praying, and they'll put their hands on me and be like, please guide Dr. Cain today and the surgical team. And then they feel like they've had access to the surgical team, where they've been able to pray over one of the people that's responsible for their well-being during surgery. And for the people that need that and want that, that's been very helpful. For the other people, I'm stating it. I'm not asking for their intervention or for them to be a part of the process, so they can say thank you. They can say nothing. It doesn't make it very awkward, but I have put it out there. And for the people that that is meaningful to them, I feel like that's really, really helped people to be relaxed before surgery. And they feel like God is speaking to them, that the last thing they heard before surgery was the anesthesiologist saying that they would pray for them. And it's been helpful.
Nice.
You know, I haven't, and you would be surprised at what a small window of contact we have with other physicians. There's not another physician out there with me when I speak to these patients. It's just the nursing staff. And I have not had nurses say anything negative or positive to me about it. I know that they all know that I do it and that I offer it. I have no idea what the general feeling about my behavior in the medical community is, but I have not been asked to stop what I'm doing now, which I feel is positive.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like people's main barrier to sharing their faith or being willing to have any type of faith statement with a patient is fear that they will not be well received. And I can tell you from 11 years of telling people that I'm going to pray with them, that I have never been negatively received by a single patient. There is relief that this is somebody that cares enough about their faith and cares enough about them to share something on a personal level. It's me giving information about myself to the patient, where I'm not being closed off. I don't have a wall of professionalism between me and this patient on all levels, that I'm willing to interact with them on that level if they so choose. And it's really only been positive for me. I have not, besides being talked to by administration right at the beginning, I have not had a single negative thing happen to me by this sharing of faith. And I think if you do it as a statement about yourself, and not as a statement about them, or not as assuming anything about their faith or their religious background or journey, the people can't fault you for it. You really just can't be faulted for sharing something about yourself with the patient. And I don't find it to be that intrusive, and it really has just been a blessing for me. And I know there's been a lot of people that it's been a very meaningful way for them to interact with the medical community, feeling like that bridge has been crossed and that avenue is open. So if they wish to have any more interaction on a religious level, they feel very comfortable doing that.